My name is Holly, and I'm the children's librarian here at Alamosa Public Library in Alamosa, Colorado, and this is Storytime Online. It's time to share a story, a story, a story. It's time to share a story today with bowls and steam and happy faces and hungry tummies. It's time to share a story today. Today, I thought we should read some stories about foods. But then when I really started to pick some of my favorite food books, I realized they're all about soups. So today, we're going to read one story about soup. We're going to sing one song and make our own soup. And then I'll show you a few books that you can check out from Alamosa Public Library or from your own library about, soup. First, let's read this soup story. This story is called Thank You, Amu, and it's written by Oge Mora. And right on the first page, when you open it, it says, Note to the reader. Amu, pronounced A-mu, is the Igbo term for queen. Igbo is a language spoken in Nigeria and in other places around the world, but it originated in Nigeria, and it means queen. And the author shares in her note at the back of the book. There she is. There's Oge. She wrote the words and drew the pictures, but she shares that Amu is the word that she called her grandmother. So she called her grandmother Queen. Thank You, Amu by Oge Mora. Is this story taking place out in the country or in the city? I think I see some buildings. I think I see buildings that have tall windows. And there's a little food cart and some cars going by and lots of people. I think this is taking place in the city. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What a delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had. With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. Little boy, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell, the little boy replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Stew, he sighed. That sure sounds yummy. What do you think Amu's going to do? Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. Would you like some? The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw, who do you think smelled it? There's the little boy with his bowl. A police officer. Miss Police Officer, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell, Miss Police Officer replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ah, stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. What do you think Amu will do? Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the officer said, and went on her way. And so, for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until, knock, knock, knock. Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time when she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell, Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ooh, stew, the vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. Do you think that's what a hot dog vendor sounds like? Maybe. So, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon, the sky darkened, the street lights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty! Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until, knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Amu wondered. When she opened her door, she saw the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We are not here to ask. We are here to give. The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. That dinner was the best she ever had. Thank you, Amu, says the note from the little boy in the red envelope. The end. What do you think Amu put in her thick red stew? Let's see. I am at the library, so I don't have a big pot. I only have a little pot. And I don't have any real vegetables and foods to chop up and put in my pot. But I have some pretend ones. And I have a pretend knife. Do you have your pretend knife? And my pretend cutting board. I put my food on the cutting board and I chop, chop, chippity, chop. Can you do that with me? It goes like this. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. You got it. So let's see, what should we chop, chop first? How about for our thick red stew, some little potatoes. First, we got to put them on our cutting board. You put your pretend potatoes on your cutting board too, and we'll chop them with a little rhyme. It goes like this. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. Cut off the bottom, cut off the top. What we have left, we'll put in the pot. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. What else do we have to put in our pot? How about some carrots? Let's chop up some carrots. We're going to cut off the bottom and cut off the top. Put them on your cutting board. Get your pretend knife. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. Cut off the bottom and cut off the top. What we have left, we'll put in the pot. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. What else could we chop up to put in our thick red stew? How about this fruit? Do you think we should put this fruit in our thick red stew? This fruit is a banana. Are you going to put banana in your stew? I think I'm going to leave the banana for dessert. Maybe a fruit salad. What else should we put in our stew? How about, do you know what these are? These are already chopped. It's called a mushroom. It's a vegetable that grows under the ground. Let's chop them up. Ready? Chop, chop, chippity, chop. Cut off the bottom and cut off the top. What we have left, we'll put in the pot. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. What else could we chop up to put in our thick red stew? How about, one of my favorite things, some greens. Maybe some collard greens or some mustard greens. They're leaves that grow on a plant. They're really good in a thick red stew. You ready to chop? Chop, chop, chippity, chop. Cut off the bottom and cut off the top. What we have left, we'll put in the pot. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. What else should go in our thick red stew? How about this? Do you know what this food is? This is another fruit. That's right, these are grapes. Do you want to put grapes into our thick red stew? If you're feeling silly, I bet you're saying, yes, put the grapes in. I think I'm going to save the grapes for my fruit salad. Yummy, yummy. How about, for a thick red stew, how about a big red tomato? Let's chop it up. Ready? Chop, chop, chippity, chop. Cut off the bottom and cut off the top. What we have left, we'll put in the pot. Chop, chop, chippity, chop. My tomato fell out. Put it in the pot. Let's see, how about one more thing? Oh, there's another green vegetable. This is a picture of asparagus. It grows in the garden too. Let's chop it up. Ready? Chop, chop, chippity chop. Cut off the bottom and cut off the top. What we have left, we'll put in the pot. Chop, chop, chippity chop. Into the pot it goes. Gotta heat it up. Stir it up. Oh, my pretend red stew is starting to smell very good. Do you smell yours? What did we put in our thick red stew? Let's see. We put some asparagus. We put some tomatoes. We put some mushrooms. We put some dark greens. We put some carrots. And we put some potatoes. Let's let it finish. Pretend bubbling and boiling. And then we'll put some in my bowl. Ooh, be careful, it's hot. Here's my spoon and my big bowl, just like the little boy in Oge Mora's book. Thank you, Amu. We put some pretend soup in my bowl. You put some in your bowl, too. Close it up. Pretty good. Pretend thick red stew is delicious. I wanted to share with you some other soup stories. This one is an Elephant and Piggy book. You might know some of those other stories. They're very funny. And some friends over at Storytime Aloud, the link is down below, read I Really Like Slop by Mo Willems. I think you should watch it. It's a great story time. But we also here at our library have this book that's called Magic Ramen, and it's about this real guy who invented one of my favorite soups, ramen noodle soup. And he invented ramen soup to help others. It's a really nice story. We also have this book that's called Mean Soup, about when you're having a really bad day. A little boy and his mom find a great way to get some of their big feelings out. Thank You, Amu is also available at Alamosa Public Library. You could check it out and do story time on your own at your house. And we also have this one called Soup Day, about a little girl and her mom who cook together. I hope that you will enjoy some of these soup stories, and maybe you'll make some soup of your own in your home sometime this week. But for now, it's time for us to sing goodbye. See you later, alligator, in a wild crocodile. Give a hug, ladybug, blow a kiss, jellyfish. See you soon, sweet baboon, out the door, dinosaur. Take care, polar bear, wave goodbye, butterfly, goodbye. Psst, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. Until knock. That was so loud.